Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to another Monday Morning Art Talk. I'm Steven Silver, character designer and teacher, dedicated to helping you learn about the art industry and living up to your potential. Whippy! All right, welcome to another Monday Morning Art Talk. I am here with my buddy Sean Parks, and been waiting for this moment for a long time. We're at a friend's house, and we're just having a barbecue here, and I've always wanted just to have him give you insight into what he's experienced along his journey. So when I met you, Sean, it was, many years ago through like the National Cartoonist Society. Yeah. Right, so it's an organization for cartoonists, and it's been going on for how many years is that?
Oh, wow, since the 50s. It's been around forever,
like
yeah.
Every cartoonist you can imagine has been through this sort of association and network, and it's a great network. And when I met you, I just remember you were living in Arizona.
I was living in Canada at the time.
You were living in Canada.
Living in Canada
okay,
at the time,
okay.
yeah. I was freelancing in Canada, yeah.
And what were you freelancing out there?
I was freelancing for a bunch of American companies. I had an agent in New York. I was just doing freelance for games and advertising and stuff like that.
Okay.
And I sought you out, actually. The Rubens were in Arizona.
Right.
And I walked over, because I bought one of your books, and I had to meet you because I knew you were there. And I walked up and just said, dude, love your stuff. And then we hit it off ever since then.
Boom, we go from there.
Yeah, because, it's the inspiration. That's it. And I think in the same direction. It's like you get a goal, you go for it. You point your ship in the right direction, and you go for it.
And I think that's like today what I wanted to talk about was so much meeting you and knowing you were doing freelance, but you were so driven to man, I want to be a storyboard artist. How do you get into storyboards? And that's all. Even though you were successful. In doing your work, you were getting clients. You were doing what sort of were you doing?
I was doing stuff for Pepsi, Hasbro.
Just advertising.
No, I was doing kids games. Anything and everything. I was doing stuff for California Pizza Kitchen.
Okay, well, so this is interesting because maybe there's people who even don't want to get into animation or maybe something like that and go well, what do you mean? So when you were doing this, were you doing illustrations for just cover boxes? What sort of?
Well, anything and everything. When you're, I was freelancing for basically just paying the bills. I was getting paid to draw, which most of the people watching this are gonna love to do.
Yeah, sure.
So I got really high on that ladder of freelancing.
But there was a genre. What was your genre? Were you doing cartoon sort of illustration?
It's weird. I originally wanted to get into comic strips.
Okay.
Okay. And my wife was like, don't be tunnel vision. Okay. If you're drawing for a living, this is good, and you could still work towards that goal.
Yeah.
And at the same time, comics in newspapers were dying slowly and surely. But so, I went into freelance illustration, which I was doing, and I just started getting a lot of educational books, children's books, and advertising just started cropping up. And I got really busy with that.
Okay.
And I was just constantly busy, and building my business. And then I was like, I think I want to get. I got away from the comic strips.
Right.
But I love doing comic strips because it was creative. It was me creating stuff.
Right. Yeah.
So the creativity thing is what that's what I always wanted, and I was getting away from that. So I was like, I got to steer this back into that direction. Okay. And then I started saying, you know what? I want to get into storyboarding and stuff like that because you have that freedom of doing that. So I started steering in that. But I noticed one thing very critical. I was on a different ladder.
Okay.
Freelancing, I was up here and I wanted to get on this ladder. So I had to jump ladders, after 24 years. So I got a storyboard gig. At that time I was living in Arizona.
Okay.
And I got a storyboard gig for a TV show out in California out here. So I came out and I got a guest house thanks to you. Yeah. It's just connections. And I did a 6-month gig on a TV show. And then I went back to Arizona for about 4 months, and then I came back out and did another show, storyboard gig for a show on Nickelodeon. And then I went back to Arizona for 2 months, and then I got a gig where I'm at now.
Permanently.
Yeah. So
And-
I'm on a show right now that's
And you're doing Bob's Burgers and you're
I'm
storyboarding
boarding on
on
Bob's
that.
Burgers. Yeah.
But see, this was the thing is like here you are with this whole different career path. Here you're doing sort of everything and anything. You end up getting an agent because how did you get an agent though when you were living in? Were you in Canada when you got an agent
Yeah.
or Arizona when you got an agent?
Listen, I believe
This is it. This is the stuff right here.
I believe
Paul.
everything happens for a reason. So the agent I had in New York, and I still have them. They're an illustration agent.
Okay.
Okay.
You submitted your artwork. No. Okay.
Everything happens for a reason.
Okay,
So
okay,
what
okay,
happened
I gotta
was,
hear this, okay.
I when you're back in the day, you used to put your used to buy an ad in a source book.
Okay.
It was called the black book or
Right.
the
Yeah.
workbook.
Yep.
Okay, and they were thick. They had like
Wow,
3,000
yeah,
pages,
yeah,
and it
yeah.
cost like you pay
Like
$2,000.
$2,000. Yeah,
And you get one
Yep,
page,
yep.
and you draw your art, you put your name on it, and then they would send these big giant source books to all the art
art
directors in America, and then they would flip through these 3,000 pages and go, "Oh, I like this style," and then they'd call you. So when you bought an ad, they would send you like 1,000 flyers that
Right.
you could send out yourself.
Yeah, I know.
So what happened was they didn't send them to me. They sent them to this agent in New York by accident.
Okay.
And then the agent in New York called me up and says, "Oh, we got your flyers. Where should we send them? Do you want us to mail them to you? And by the way, we like your style. Do you want to be
You
repped?"
got to be kidding me.
It's crazy.
And this is an ad that you paid for.
That I paid for.
Holy moly.
So you ever consider being repped by an agent? And I was like, not really, but yeah, give me your information and I'll call you back. And then I called a friend of mine who's an illustrator, who's been an
Okay.
illustrator forever, and I just said, "Have you ever heard of this company?" And he's like, "Yes." They called you. You call them back and tell them yes,
Wow.
because they're one of the top 6 agents in New
Wow.
York. So I talked to my wife. I called them right away, and I'm like, "Yes, I would like to be repped." And then I was repped for them. That was like 20 years ago.
That's
So
crazy.
it just
right.
happened that way, and they were fantastic. And then they brought my business to another level because they got me into companies that I wouldn't be able to get into because the companies like Hasbro and stuff like that. Who, after I did some work with them, I talked to them and they were like, "Yeah, we don't hire freelancers because we don't know. We always go through an agent because we don't know if they can." We know if we go through an agent, we know they're going to meet the deadlines.
Right, okay,
Now,
right.
I don't know if that's the case now.
Right,
You know what I mean?
right.
Because the business changes, like it's changed a
But
lot.
I knew too that for a time you really had to have a definitive style though, especially when you're doing at that time when you're going to be repped because they're repping you for that style.
Yes.
You can't. That way, the agencies, anyone hiring you knows exactly that they're getting Sean Parks and not getting someone else,
Yes,
right?
yes.
So you had your own style going of
yes.
stuff that you were doing, and what was that style? Like what was it? It was just more though. You're more of a cartoon. I mean, you're a cartoonist.
Yeah, well, I started out being I started out with the cartoon thing, and then when I got my agent, I started adapting my style because I wanted to get more work. Like I wanted to, the advertising jobs at the time were paying a lot more, so I wanted to get into that stuff. So I started out doing illustrations, like just doing educational materials and stuff like that. And they were selling them a lot, but they were bulk jobs. Like you got to draw 200 illustrations and this and that of kids doing certain things, and then I realized quickly I started learning the business and I was like, wow, advertising jobs you just do 1 or 2 illustrations and you're getting paid twice.
So much more. Yeah.
So I'm like, so I started adapting my style for that, which was good because it helped me get more work.
Okay.
But yeah, you go in with my style was more. I mean, you take Garfield and you take Looney Tunes and you throw them in a blender, and that was my style at the time.
And like you said too, so you had this, you were on this one ship over here in this one place, and all of a sudden you decided, even though you were at a good place, you said, "This is not what I want. I want to do," and this is again part of the remarkable thing to me, which I love. It's like you decided that you wanted to be a storyboard artist. You made that decision in your head that you want to do storyboards, and all of a sudden, there we are. We're talking. We're having these conversations. You're just talking about how much.
I remember. We were in Vegas,
and you're just talking about how you want to get into this industry, and like what do you think? What's going on? And again, your mind was just this laser beam. And then fast forward, how many years from that? Like again, nothing happens at a moment. Everything is timing. But it was about. Probably from the time, at least maybe about 6 years, maybe, or less.
Yeah, I mean, it was, at least 6 years, but it could have been less.
Okay.
But it was 6 years because I was dragging my feet.
Because you didn't really want to pull the trigger.
I didn't want to pull the trigger and move out here. That was the big thing.
You had to make a decision what environment that you were willing to move into the right environment
Yeah.
to make it happen.
Well, I already moved my wife from Canada to Arizona,
Right.
where we didn't know anybody.
Right.
You know, and I was like, wow, I don't know if
Okay.
I could do that again to her.
Okay,
You know what I mean? To
okay,
move,
okay.
like just uproot everything, because we grew roots. We've been in Arizona for 10 years. We grew roots there, and I didn't know if I want to uproot that again, come here. So it was weird enough, when this job came up for the first storyboarding gig out here, she was the one that pushed me out.
Okay.
You know, she was like, you have to try it. You know, this is what you've been thinking about all these times. And the whole thing is, it's you throw it out there,
Yeah.
and the road, you have to notice the paths that are thrown, that,
Yeah.
that are going to come, because they will come to you.
Yeah.
You just have to, your job is to recognize when a path is going to lead you to your goal. And if you don't recognize it, then it's going to take forever. Or if you,
Right.
or
Keeps
if you,
like zzz,
or if
zzz,
you're
zzz.
resistant to it.
Right. Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
accepting it, going, you know what, this is happening for a reason.
Right.
Now, some people don't believe that.
Right. Yeah.
But
yeah.
I'll tell you something.
It's real.
It is real.
It's real.
It can't. All the coincidences that happen can't just be coincidences.
No.
You know what I mean?
It's all big. It's cause and effect.
Yes.
It's the law of cause and effect,
Yes.
that you're putting this mind and action into it, and
Yes.
something's going to happen again. And the big thing is, it's not overnight. It's not.
Oh,
an
it's never overnight.
thing.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's the thing. You could sit there and go, well, you know, this is what I want. I guarantee you, if you say that's what I want, and you work towards it, you will get it. Now, you won't get it tomorrow morning.
Yeah, absolutely. Right,
You know what I
right,
mean?
Yeah, yeah.
It might
yeah.
take a year, it might take
Yeah.
5 years,
Yeah.
but if you know, it might take less. It depends. It all depends on how much you put into it.
Right.
You know, it's like you know,
Yeah.
one thing I learned from you, which is fantastic, is draw every day.
Yeah.
Now, you can draw every day. That's great. You can draw once every day, one page every day. But if you
Right.
draw 5 pages every day, you're gonna get a lot better
Yeah.
than the guy who draws 1 page every day.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like the more you put into it, it's like stock. The more stock you put into your
Right.
beliefs and your goals, you will get it. Now that doesn't mean to let everything, you know, put everything aside, quit your day job.
Sure.
No.
Yeah. Don't be crazy.
Yeah,
I mean,
but you point that ship in the right direction, and every single day work towards that, and you will get that goal. And
Yeah.
every single goal I've set for myself, every single one of them, it's happened.
that same
You know,
here, and that's
yeah.
the importance, I think, of that, is just like that persistence, and through your drive and through that persistence, that
Yeah.
led you to get the job working at Bento Box, becoming a storyboard artist.
Yeah.
So you've been there. How many years have you been there now?
At Bob's?
Yeah.
I just passed my 1 year mark.
1 year ago.
Yeah.
Nice, congratulations.
Yeah.
See, man, that's awesome.
And it's weird because I get on there and I'm there for a month, and then they announce that they're doing a movie. And
And
it's like,
right,
wow.
wow,
Now I'm going
wow.
to get a movie credit on
Yeah.
a TV screen, like
Yeah.
on a movie
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
screen in a theater, and it's like,
And
you
just
know.
from a guy who just wanted to do this,
Yeah.
but you're pursuing it, and then
Yeah.
now you've moved out here. Now
Moved
you've moved
out here
out from
permanently.
Arizona. You moved
Yeah.
out permanently. You're making the commitment.
yeah.
You're just
now,
like,
it's weird. As soon as I made that commitment, everything opened up. It's so strange because it was like I was resisting. You know?
That's the crazy thing
Yeah.
about it all, and this is the word that I was saying earlier, was surrender.
Surrender,
It's
yeah.
like, and I was talking,
Yeah.
when you surrender, when you open yourself up to just kind of let it be, things for somehow. Again, you can think, oh, magic, poofy, woofy stuff, but the reality is,
If that
it's-
magic poofy stuff works,
if you believe it, and that's the thing.
It's
That's
weird.
the thing. It's not
Yeah.
like there's pixie dust. It's not the
Yeah.
pixie dust where, hey, let me just buy some of this and
Yeah.
sprinkle on you, and you're gonna have your magical career. It's just like we're doing this, but I think it's the belief more than anything, and that's the thing with you, is because I remember always that first conversation when I met you, and every year when you weren't still doing your storyboards, it was always storyboards, man. Storyboards.
See, but that's the thing. You know, when I first talked to you about that, it was I wasn't fully committed to it.
Yeah.
It's something I wanted,
Right.
and it was in the back of my mind. But I never really. I studied storyboards all those times, and I was like studying, going, okay, when it happens, when the opportunity happens, I'm going to be ready. And I've always done that, where I'm like, I overstudy things, and that's one thing that you have to be critical about. You have to pull the trigger at some point.
Yeah.
Because there's only you can. I'm a very I'll dissect things and learn things, and I'll learn more than I need to, a lot more.
Yeah.
And then I'll pull the trigger. And it took like 10 years to move to the States.
Right.
You know what I mean? To move my
Yeah.
company to the
Yeah.
States took 10 years. It didn't have to take that long.
Right, right,
I had to be 1,000% sure, and I mean I could have pulled the trigger at 2 years.
Right,
You know,
right.
it's the same thing with the storyboard. It took me 6 years when it could have taken me a year. I was ready at the 1
Right,
year because I
right.
was learning it and
Yeah,
talking to people
yeah.
and talking to everyone I
Yeah.
met through the industry.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Through the NCS.
And you know, though, I think you go with a gut and you know it's right. It's not
Yeah.
like you're all of a sudden just going to go like, I want to do, that's it, I'm living in some other state or other country, and all of a sudden, I decide tomorrow I want to do storyboards, I'm moving to LA,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I'm going
yeah,
to start.
yeah.
You're not just jumping
No,
ship like
no,
that.
you gotta
It's
be
just like,
prepared,
you
you
got to
know.
be prepared.
Yeah,
Boy Scout
but you
motto.
have to.
Yeah.
But you have to pull the trigger, and you can't be afraid. I mean, fears in everything.
Sure,
and I mean,
right,
I was
right,
afraid because I was like, I'm leaving a business that I grew for 24 years. You know what I mean? Like, what am I doing? You know what I mean? But at the same time, it's like, look, after 24 years, I mean, I was, you know, I was successful and I was happy, but it's not what I wanted.
Right.
And that could, you know, make me sound to be, you know, very selfish and stuff like that because, you know, I had nothing to complain about, but it's not what was fulfilling me.
Right,
You know, and you have to be happy every single day.
Oh, yeah.
You know, when you wake up in the morning and go, I'm excited to go to work.
And it's going to keep changing.
Yeah.
It's like you're doing the boards now, but eventually that's going to just lead to something else.
Of course, everything leads.
Like,
I mean, you know, it's like, you know, it snakes its way to, you know, whatever, directing or whatever the next step
everything,
is.
And you don't know, and you don't need to plan that, and you don't need to think so hard. All you need to know is that I'm just going to keep working on what I'm doing. I've made it happen and work out this far. You know, and you just do it. But yeah, I realized, you know, for myself too, when I made that commitment to stop working in-house at studios about 12 years ago, it's just like that moment where it's not just stopping and quitting, but it's realizing that I need to make the change. If I want to pursue and do what I want to do, you gotta pull that trigger, and you just got to make that commitment.
Absolutely.
You know, at that moment.
I mean, but that's the thing. I mean, your lessons they're so simple, and they apply to everything. I mean, they apply to if you're a musician, same thing. You know, every day. Play. You know what I mean? Get better. Sharpen your skills. And you know, when that time comes where you have to pull the trigger, where there's an opening, you are ready.
You're ready.
You're a pinch hitter, man. You can get in there and fill the spot. That is key. It's the most key thing because you can't sit there and go, well, I want to learn storyboards, show up at a thing, and they go, okay, start storyboarding. You're like, well, I have to learn it first. No. You have to be ready because once you get that job and you sit down, you got a board. You got to, you know.
It's making the full commitment, and I realize, you know, it's like, and I look at it like a thing. If you all of a sudden decide you want to be a florist and you want to open up a flower shop, you're going to make a commitment to lease a space, be working on the weekends, be doing all this. How are you serious? Is this really what you want to do? And that's what pulls people. A lot of times people say, nah, it's not really what I want to do, so they'll never do it. They'll never pursue a patent idea or an idea for an invention or something. And I go through this myself because I don't pull because I know I'm not going to fully commit. So, and I realize that now, and I learned that lesson when I opened up my school, that out in Sun Valley here, I started small, I went big, that's what I thought I wanted, and I realized I wanted small. It became to the point where it was too big, and growing to that phase where I wasn't truly prepared or wanting this. I didn't want to be at the school all the time. I didn't want to be doing all this. And I realize now that was a great lesson that I learned in life.
You wouldn't have known that unless you did that.
Exactly. Right. And I'm glad that I went through that. And that's part of the thing too. You got to just do, and you got to just try. And so what if it doesn't work out to the big picture that you think is in your mind or someone else may perceive? You just try and you do, and you let it sort of just flow and see where it takes you.
Well, there's no such thing as failure if you learn a lesson from it.
If you learn a lesson.
If you don't learn a lesson from it, it's a failure.
Failure every time. You're going to keep being failures.
So,
you know, oh man, bad things keep happening to me all the time. Well, why did you learn? I had a buddy who's every time in bad relationships with next girlfriend was bad. It's like, dude, at what point are you going to learn that this sort of person that you keep going after is the wrong person for you and completely switch? And when he made that switch, that's when it worked out.
Absolutely.
You know,
it's like you go for a job interview and you don't get the job. Don't be bummed about it. Look and go, okay, what was it? You know what I mean? And then if it was a skill thing, or if you have to bring your level to here, bring your level to here. And that's a great challenge because at least you know you're not ready yet. Get your level to there
and listen,
and
you know,
of course,
And
the people that you know come up with excuses of why this didn't happen for them, well, it's never going to happen for you.
Exactly.
You have to accept
that's
the fact
for sure.
that, you know, certain things. Hey, sometimes there's just bad luck of the draw or whatever. That's fine, but you know, you have to accept your situation, know your place, where you're at. And then go from there.
And a lesson that I learned through my daughter she at a point she wanted to be an actress. She doesn't anymore, but we have a cousin in the family who's an actor, successful. And he said that there's going to be, and was telling her, he said, you're going to go, it's not about you. You're going to go to auditions. And it's just, you're going to go to that and you're going to do your best. And they're not going to pick you. And you can't take it so personally and feel like they hated me and they hated my thing. Maybe you just didn't have the right tone of voice. Maybe you didn't have the right look and that twin, whatever it was. It's not so much that, you know, you're the problem, that you're so bad or anything else. And that's the same thing with art. When you don't get your jobs or I'm trying for this and I didn't get accepted, it's just like, hey, It just wasn't, you know, I go up against character designers all the time, you know, where we're competing against each other for jobs on things because whose stuff do they like more?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's not about me. I don't feel that I'm a horrible artist. I feel like they liked his stuff better, you know.
Yeah, sometimes stuff, that's I mean, in the freelance world, it's weird because I went up against. I found out I was up for a design job against a friend of mine. Okay, and you know Bucky.
Okay,
up in Idaho or wherever. And I remember because I was talking to the guy who called me. He goes, "It's up between you and this guy in Idaho," and I'm like, "How many cartoons are in Idaho?" So I said, "Is his name Bucky?" He's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Wow." So I called Bucky up and I'm like, "Hey, guess what? We're going for the same thing." And I'm like, "Look. It's not about who's better. It has nothing to do with that. It's which style fits better. You know what I mean for this job. And that's a thick skin you just learn. Yeah, I mean it's like
you can
not
turn
about
it
you.
into that.
Of course, you can go, it's me, it's me.
It's
about the style and what fits, and that's just you got to accept it. That's business. You know
that's
what I mean?
what it comes down to. It's just like so even again, everyone's got to learn and you got to grow and you got to develop your skill set. You're not going to get hired as a storyboard artist if you can't do the test.
Of course.
And you don't match it and give them what they want, so it doesn't matter.
Get your skill level to where you want it, where it needs to be, not where you want it to be, where it needs to be, where. When the opportunity arises, because if you're aiming for that, the opportunity will arise.
Yeah.
When it arises, you can slide right in there.
You're ready.
And you're not like caught off guard and now you got to perform and you can't. Then you're screwed.
You don't want to be there.
So just whatever your goal is, it doesn't matter what it is. Art, music, acting, being the best tax accountant, it doesn't matter. Do it every day.
Yeah.
Know what you want to do. Focus on that goal. Work at it every day, and you will get it. And pay. The most important thing is to pay attention to the opportunities that come up.
Yeah.
And when they do come up, surrender to them.
Surrender. That's a perfect place to end this. Surrender. Sean, thanks so much. This was awesome that you came out. Is there anything, how can people see your artwork? Or
watch Bob Burgers, man.
Watch Bob's Burgers. There you go. If there's anything he tells me afterwards, I'll put it there. But, this was all about is just that, just have those dreams, and follow through and make it happen. And don't worry about the failure that's happening. There's going to be plenty of it. Just surrender to the situation, enjoy it, and let it be.
Watch his show and listen to it. The message is clear. The message is simple, and the message is true. Just do it.
It's true. It's really true, guys. So follow it.
Follow through.
Yeah, follow
Good
through.
luck.
All right. Make it a great week.
All right.
To subscribe to my mailing list and stay updated on future workshops and events, please go to my contact at silvertunes.com and simply hit join mailing list. Until the next time, make it a great week and thank you for listening.